Hello, this is the Joseph Evaldi podcast. I am your host, Joseph Evaldi. This is the vehicle of discontent woven into words. And on tonight's podcast, I'm going to make it a short one, but a good one. Tonight, I discuss about a clip from my book, Evolution of the Squared Circle, the Production of Professional Wrestling. It was narrated by Ken Eaken, written by Joseph Evaldi, and what I plan on doing with one of these skits or one of these segments is I plan on writing or reading, I should say, a little clip of my book. And this is going to be the new format. Other formats on this show will be other skits such as thinking the wrestling show that I was gonna do and skit on that, which was a segment called Jobber's Pit. There's another segment I like to introduce in this show, which is a little segment of yesterday's news with Joe Baxter. It's just Joe Baxter doing a news story. I like to do that. I like him to do that, or I like to do that, or whatever. And also, I would like to address issues, topics, developments of the brand, all in this podcast in this very new year. Happy New Year, 2019. Without further ado, let me give you updates. Here are the updates. Latest news of the brand is we are happy to have signed the characters from Richard Androlkis, Ricky, Twilight Cricket, and also Curtis the Bearheart to a contract. In that contract, he agreed to do 12 more Ricky and Wolfman shows, 12 more Totem Wolf and Bearheart shows, including the 5 that are going to be coming up soon, and also 12 more Yesterday News with Joe Baxter and Curtis the Bearheart. In that, he also agreed to do a few Slow Mo Joe Timeless Poetry shows. The nature of this deal is that it is going to free us up, make us conducive to doing projects we need to do, which means I am able to write more, he's able to write more, I'm able to spend time with ones that I love, and I'm able to have time to write. We came to a conclusion that under the old deal with Spiritus Holographica, it was too much. So we are going to not X the project altogether of Spiritus Holographica. It will still go on, but we may have a new co-host for the show. we're in talks. And it would work out fine. It just, we can't be everywhere at once, and we got to work it out, and it's the best way to do it. On other news, Spiritus Holographica. I remember I said earlier on this year in a blog that Spiritus Holographica would be, so to speak, be engulfed in Journal to the Dreamscapes. Or the Journal to the Dreamscapes would be engulfed in Spiritus Holographica. Well, maybe that could be a segment, but I still like the idea of Journal to the Dreamscapes. And, it is a good show. Maybe I won't exit out altogether. Maybe that's a show that I could do by myself. Let's just see how the cards handle. It might be a while before Spiritus Holographica comes out, but I think I could pound out some shows to Journal to the Dreamscapes. It would be good. And maybe there would be a new format with Spiritus Holographica, considering we're in talks with a new co-host. So we'll just see about that. As you know, the Joseph Evaldi podcast is rebranding, and it's rebranding all the time, but I guess we're trying to find our identity and finding what works. I remember many years ago we were focusing on love and relationships. I think a year we were focusing on business. I think another year we were focusing on finding our identity. Another year we weren't doing anything. But this year, I think having skits and segments, having an update segment would be good, and having a segment where I discuss a little bit reading from my books could be a good segment, and also other skits such as an occasional appearance of Ricky, maybe not Ricky, but maybe Curtis the Bearheart, maybe occasionally an appearance of other characters to be mentioned at a later date. I don't know. We'll see what goes on. Maybe even the jabber sometimes. But we're reworking this brand. So, without further ado, let me get to the program. Let me cut to a break. A break where I talk about the format of the show. And I talk about a plug for the network. Well, I'm going to do a short plug. I'm just going to plug the book seasons, the Journey Through the Year cycle. I know I kept on mentioning it. It's a book from fall to fall, and it discusses how to deal with prosperity and how to deal with going through everything in the year cycle. But all I know is it's a good show, so check it out. Other things I want to discuss are this book that I'm tying into right now, which is Evolution of the Square Circle, the Production of Professional Wrestling. It was narrated by Dickie Thomas, written by Joseph Evaldi, and a part of this segment is where I read a segment from the show, or read a segment of the book. And again, the book is Evolution of the Square Circle, the Production of Professional Wrestling. In this part of the book, I write about the 1970s. And I am going to introduce Joe Vexter to the podcast, where me and Joe Vexter will discuss and read from the book. I'm going to read from the book, Evolution of the Squared Circle, the Production of Professional Wrestling. In the book, I write, once I plug my phone in, or device in. Let me get to it. In the book, says 1970s, the 1970s. First, let me discuss a little bit about the changing era of wrestling. Wrestling was starting to integrate with the different personas. They were making headways by introducing black wrestlers and wrestlers across the globe. However, they were in stereotypical roles. Each played their gimmick in stereotypical matches, and this still goes on today, but not in an extreme fashion as it did then. I won't go into detail about how blatant this stereotyping was, but in the 1970s and 80s, they had characters of Kamala and Abdul the Butcher, who were characters of savagery, and they were African, as reported in David Shoemaker's book. This was sad because they portrayed Africans as savages. It was something they should have never even mentioned in this context. And you had nobody sticking up for them. They were left alone or handled like Kamala. This was the 70s and the beginning of the 80s. If I could change it, it would work, but I'm on another page right now. There was Bob Backlund, who was the throwback from the 50s, portraying the white wrestler. Ivan Putski, the Polish wrestler. Bruno Sammartino, the Italian American, who had been champion of the WWF in the 60s. Billy Graham, who represented the new era or the new age, such as the hippies. Then you had the Islander or Samoan wrestlers in their arsenal. It's safe to say, in every wrestling promotion, They were